What's up, guys? This is Logan Shinholster with Contractor Growth Network. Last week, we actually had an all-hands team meeting to game plan a full strategy for one of our clients who's a landscape company out in Colorado. So we take this, send it over to the client, but I figured give you a behind-the-scenes look into how we're doing everything so you can kind of take some of the principles that we're doing and apply it to your business. Enjoy. Yeah, so with Hiner, so when you think outdoor living, like his whole goal is like out in Colorado Springs, it's like gorgeous, right? It's super nice, and his term or his phrase is be an outsider, which that is get back outside. You know, you didn't move to Colorado Springs for nothing. It's like why people move to like Denver or like the mountains and stuff, because they want to engage with the outdoors a lot more. So with him, that's kind of the goal, right? He's a landscaper by trade, but he likes to build outdoor living spaces. So outdoor living spaces would be like, imagine going outside to somebody's backyard, and instead of just being like grass, it's, you know, like a nice patio with a kitchen and then a water feature or a pond. So it's like you straight up can like go out there and entertain. It's super fun. It's nice, that kind of stuff. Like if I'll show you his. You see? That's his backyard right there. So that's what we're talking about. That's what he's trying to build more of, where it's like, it's nice. You can see the tables and like the chairs on this like really nice patio, and then it's right next to the sound of water and things like that. Now, here's the big problem. With him as a landscaper, landscaping as a whole, it's like a race to the bottom, meaning there's always going to be some other landscaper, especially if you do lawn care or like maintenance and stuff like that, that can do it cheaper. So he's trying to get out of straight up I'm a landscaper and more into everything that he does. He wants it to be water focused. So he'll still do the landscaping stuff, the patios, the kitchens, but he'd like it to be water feature focused. So that's why we're doing this. And he's like, look, you know, he builds really good water features and stuff, and he's like certified in all of it. So that's like his unique selling proposition of, instead of just doing like a landscaper where I do patios and fire pits like everybody else, if I can make this thing water feature like central and then build everything else around that, that's what I want to do. So that's what we're trying to transition from, is landscaper as a whole and outdoor living as a whole, more into water feature focused with a secondary of, you know, if you're going to build a pond, you might as well enjoy it. How do you enjoy it? A patio. And then how do you enjoy it if it's colder at night? You add a fire pit to it. And then what happens if it's, you know, Memorial Day weekend and you want to sit outside? You got to add an outdoor kitchen with a grill, right? So that's kind of the direction that we're going. But we're going to treat his campaign and kind of go through how we do it all, story brand it, and figure out, okay, what's the messaging we want to go with, and how do we actually do all this stuff to try to build it for the long term. Make sense? With him, what we're going to be doing is for the next 2 months, while it's still busy, try to get people on the email list. It's still warm over there for another month and a half or so. So we're going to do the higher level package for 2 months. And then during the winter time, we're going to go on maintenance mode. So it's going to be more of just like basic Facebook ads, just to continue to drive name and email to their list. And then just emails just to kind of stay top of mind. So that way, when it comes springtime and everybody's ready to go, it's game on. We've already got people that have been kind of getting hyped for it for 6 months now. Does that kind of make sense? Mm-hmm. All right, perfect. So let's talk about why people buy this, because that's really the big idea of it all. And we're going to go through Storybrand. So first off, somebody who wants a pond, if you were to put one of those, like just imagine you're sitting there and you're, I don't know, you're looking in your backyard and you're missing a water feature and you miss the water. Why? Like, what about the water do you think is special? Like, why do you think people put these in their yard?
Maybe childhood memories.
That's actually a really big one. Okay, so why? Nostalgia. Nostalgia sells all day long. That's why like Converses are coming back, because it just, you know, it was big back in the day. So childhood memories is like literally one of the biggest ones, and actually it's like mainly the only one. So that's like a really deep down one. People just want to kind of get back to that state of nostalgia, because a lot of times people that have water features or want water features is because they grew up near water. All right, so let's walk through, okay, so it's nostalgic, but there's other things that are nostalgic, right? Why don't you go out and get a playhouse put in your backyard to relax? Or, I don't know, you go out and just buy a bunch of Bazooka Joe gum to relax, right? Why a pond? Why a water feature?
Also, it kind of goes with status.
Okay. What kind of status?
Kind of high end, maybe you have money.
High end. You have money. So if you walked in, I mean, this is a gorgeous backyard, but if you walked in and saw somebody having a koi pond in their backyard, would you automatically associate, like, damn, this guy's balling?
Kinda.
Really? Okay.
I mean,
If you know how much ponds cost.
Correct. That's the other side of things.
yeah.
So, like, think about, like, let's say a pool. How much do you guys think a pool costs to put in?
Thousands of dollars.
do you
Pools feel more commonplace though than ponds. So my impression would be ponds, like something like that, would be way more expensive than putting a pool in. But I don't know numbers
So
specifically.
that pond, it's like that's a very high end pond.
Yeah.
A pool itself can easily be six figures, so it's like they're expensive. So like you just think like the generic backyard pool, they can be a lot of money, especially if you do it right. That pond, my guess is like going to be 150 would just be my guess on that because of like all the intricacies that he has with that. But status is something that we're trying to sell more of now, which is why like with Premier Ponds, one of the last things that we did, it's great. You got a pond in the backyard, that's cool. But if we want to sell this as a status, what are some other things in people's lives that associate with status or like are synonymous with status?
Cars.
Yeah, that's
Huh? What kind of cars? Give me some brands.
Lamborghini, Ferrari.
That's definitely.
Ferrari and Maseratis.
Audi, Lexus.
Yeah, it's definitely more on like the Audi Lexus scale of things versus like the exotic, like
Well,
I think
fast.
if you get like a Lambo, you're putting piranhas in that thing. Okay, so status, that's a big one. What else do we have? So we have nostalgia, we've got status, and status is like sells all day long. What else?
Maybe it's something they've just always wanted. Maybe towards retirement or something. Along those lines.
Okay, but why? Why have they always wanted it?
The aesthetics.
Aesthetics is another big one. You got aesthetics. And one other thing that we're missing that's super basic.
Jealousy.
Jealousy would kind of go in that status, I would think. Tell me what the difference is when you go walking in Uptown versus when you go walking on like a nature path. How do you feel the difference?
I mean, the environment's different.
That it's the nature aspect.
nature,
People,
yeah.
people like just straight up love nature and running water. If you think of like all like,
It's like that white noise sound,
100%.
but you actually have it in your backyard, not on Spotify.
Exactly. So it's, what are you falling asleep to? You're falling asleep to the sound of running water. It's like when you go to like the ocean and you're on the beach and you can hear the waves crashing, it like starts at like that circadian rhythm of like, let's go to sleep now. So nature as a whole is like huge because when you can reconnect with nature, you can calm down. Like there's something with it where like, not to get technical, but there's like this term that's called biophilia hypothesis, which is this scientific way of saying people just want to feel one with nature, right? Like you want to get back out there, you want to go relax, especially for the people that are living in Colorado Springs, because you're like literally around gorgeous mountains. Like have you guys ever been out west and like seen like Yellowstone or anything like that? Well, no, you just get off the East Coast, so you're new to it, but
In South Dakota.
yeah. Have you two ever been out like to the Midwest or to like Colorado or Utah or Wyoming?
Driven through it.
Okay, like do you remember the landscape out there? What it was like?
All mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like one of the most unique landscapes in like the entire world. So people go out there for that reason to like feel like they're reconnecting with nature. So those are the two big things of why people get this thing done. One is nostalgia, meaning they had something growing up water related, whether it was a stream or a river or a pond themselves, or small lake, and they want their kids to feel that. But the reason they want their kids to feel that is back to the nature aspect. That's really what it comes down to, is people want to feel calm, to feel relaxed, because they're back to one with nature. And that's kind of Matt's whole thing, is being outside. It's more than just a yard, it's a way of life. Get back outdoors. All right, so with that being said, that's kind of like your problem, is that people are stressed out. You know, you got the day-to-day activity, it's crazy, and people just want to relax. You got a couple ways that you can relax. So for you guys, when you come home, if you're stressed out from work, what do you guys do to relax?
Veg out in front of Netflix.
There you go. So you got Netflix. What else?
Spend time with family and friends.
Okay. What else?
Read a book.
I like to cook.
Sit outside on your deck.
There you go. I mean, there's like a lot of different things that you can do. So with all this, you know, that's almost what you're playing against. Hey, you just had a really stressful day. Like, what are you going to do to relax? Go home and sit back in front of the TV? Or do you want to spend time with friends and family? But the problem is, when you've got Netflix, or you got your phone in your pocket, when you're with friends and family, what are you really doing? You're on your phone the whole time.
Yeah. Or in front of Netflix.
Or in front of Netflix, right. So it's like, are you really reconnecting with friends and family? So are you really getting, if you're with your kids, are you really getting that nostalgia feeling for them? Because you grew up, if you're in his demographic, you're 45, 55 years old, you've been in your house for 10 years, you got kids that are a little bit older, you didn't grow up with a phone, and you had water, so now what are you trying to do with these kids? Get them back off their phones. Get them back into feeling calm and stuff like that, reconnecting as a family, and that's where this stuff comes in. But it all happens because you're back to one with nature. So that's really what sells these, is that nature aspect of it. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So that's the first part, is going to be, if you had to put it for an external problem, an internal problem, and then a philosophical problem, Storybrand asked, what would the external problem be?
Doesn't look good.
Just one, yep.
Just the aesthetic.
Okay, so you have bad, so we're going to go external, is going to be looks. Okay. So based off of that one, that's one approach we can take, is the aesthetics. So aesthetically, your backyard looks terrible. Internally, give me the internal problem.
You're embarrassed because it looks horrible.
You're embarrassed. Okay? So if you're embarrassed by how your yard looks, what's the philosophical problem here? You bought this house, you deserve more. Okay? Like, you just spent so much money on this house, and you're like living it with your family. Like, do you really want to spend the rest of your time looking at this disgusting backyard and feeling embarrassed? You deserve better. You work hard for this. That's the philosophical side of things. All right, so that's aesthetics. Now let's play it off the nature side of things. So externally, if the problem is externally, like based off the nature thing, I think that's a tougher thing to sell. But what could we say the external problem is for the nature side of things?
They're not close enough to it.
That's good. Not close to nature. So internally, so what does that do for them?
Makes them feel like they're missing something.
That's a good one. Okay, so if they're missing out, then what's their philosophical?
They shouldn't have to miss out.
So when Matt and I did this about 6 months ago, we went through externally, you're not close to nature, which internally means that you can't de-stress. When you don't get back with nature, you can't de-stress, and philosophically, you shouldn't have to go through life with all this pent-up anxiety. Like, when you bring nature into your world, especially if you're out in Colorado Springs, it's going to do wonders for you. Get back, de-stress, connect with family outside, because if you've got kids, you've only got so much more time with them. You might as well like hang out next to the pond, hear the sound of running water, get a fire pit, things like that. Make sense? All right. Next thing with him is going to be authority. I'll just tell you this one because you guys aren't going to know it. He's gotten tons of awards. Like two of the bigger, like the Garden of the Gods is like I think the most visited park, like national park in the U.S. And he did their landscaping like for the front Denver Botanic Gardens is big too. So authority, he's got like everything. Empathy would be how does he step in? So knowing these problems, knowing what you're going through, what could he say to say, trust me, I get it because X, Y, Z.
What's his story?
So that would be a good thing. Is his background is, I mean, like one of the easiest things I always say is like trust me, I run a crazy life, which is why I have a backyard that looks like that, so I can come out here and relax.
So he understands it.
He understands it. So that's really what we've gone with so far. Is just like, I get it. You know, I know what it's like to like come home and like be stuck inside. So that's why we moved and actually created this backyard oasis. So we're able to come out here and like when it comes time to like family time, we chill by the pond. So I was gonna say been there. Okay, so we've got the external, internal, and philosophical problem. We've got the authority side of things. What's next in Storybrand?
So the guide comes in and then presents the solution.
I think it's a three-step process. Yeah, I think it's a three-step process. I think. It's all right, we'll keep going with that. So process for him, I'll just tell you his process is 1, get a design of what you want, because he's a big designer. 2, do the work. 3, if design step 1 and actually getting the work, you know, putting the project in is 2, executing on the design, what would 3 be?
They get to enjoy it.
100%. Enjoy it. Fall in love. Fair enough? So for this, what's the primary call to action? So primary call to action generally goes based off of the process. So typically, to start the process, you need to have a call to action. So in his case, what could his, you know, based off these 3 things, what could his call to action be? Hey, if you want to really enjoy life or enjoy the pond again, what's step 1 going to be for you? Like, what do you need to do?
Call him for a consultation.
Schedule time for a design. So primary call to action is going to be like, yeah, it would say contact. Just make it easier. Contact for design. What's secondary call to action? So if they don't want a design right now, they don't want to call them up, what could a secondary one be?
Do more research.
So what could we, so in you know, like instead of saying, hey, call us right now or do more research, what could we say instead of that second one where we can still, if we're not getting all their information and we're not hitting the home run, what can we still do in exchange for their name and their email?
Downloadable content, newsletter, email.
So what would we do for that? In this case, knowing what you know about, it's based on aesthetics and nature and nostalgia, what could be a secondary call to action that we could say, in exchange for your name and your information, we want to give you this, which is going to help progress the sale to the contact for a design.
Does he have a brochure filled with photos of other examples he's done in the past?
That's good. An idea guide. Hey, check out some of what you could do for your yard. Things like that. What's another one that we could think of? I was also thinking you could almost just be like 5 ways to reconnect with nature, or like the benefits of
having your backyard.
Yeah, the benefits of getting back outside, but like
So just blogs.
it could be a blog. It could be like literally like a checklist of like, you know, 5 things to do to relax today. One. Yeah. there was one that I saw one time. It was like 10 ways to wake yourself up if you're falling asleep, and it was like, way number 1, take a nap. Way number 2, drink some water. Way number 3, kill somebody. Way number 4, you know, so like, so it's a joke, but yeah, I mean, it could be like different, because we're not necessarily trying to sell them just a pond. We're trying to sell them the idea of peace, tranquility, things like that. So if that's what we're going for with nature, which is what we're trying to sell, is the idea that you can reconnect with nature, which helps you de-stress with life, then you can sell them or get them on the idea of other things that we could de-stress.
Like benefits of connecting with nature,
There you
like
go.
the mental aspects.
Yeah. So the mental side of this stuff, right? Like, you know, 27 ways that connecting with nature is going to help you. Although then we'd have to do a bunch of research. So that'd be a tough one. But yeah, something like that where they just go, okay, because maybe right now they're not sold on the idea of a pond, but they are sold on the idea of a better life, of a more stress-free life. So that's what we want to do here. Okay, so for right now, just so we don't have to do research, we're just going to go with like an idea guide or like a little brochure. That's another thing, so success.
Success to them looks like being less stressed.
Give me another thing that they get out of this.
They get a space to connect with family and friends.
So it's a better connection with friends and family, which also ties into show it off.
Show it up.
Don't you feel less stressed when everybody knows how rich you are? Okay, so failure. What does failure look like?
Staying stressed.
Yeah, the rat race of life.
Always being upset with the things you have.
An ugly yard.
Yeah, like always being upset.
Like complacency.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of like the whole thing in a nutshell. So if I'm going to recap this whole thing, hey, look, like you're trying to de-stress, but the issue is that there's nothing to de-stress around, which just kind of means that you're stuck feeling like you deserve more, or that you're feeling empty, or you're missing out, right? And the problem is you can't really get to hang out with friends and family and stuff. So trust me, I'm Matt Hiner. I've been there. I literally built an entire backyard because I was going to work, I was coming home, and I was still stressed. So now I sit outside with my family and I enjoy it. I've won a ton of awards just to based off the designs that we build, because they are all centric around here's how we do things to help you with a better life. The whole process is first, let's just start a design, right? Let's work together to make sure that we actually are going to be able to put in what you want. Step 2 is let's execute on that design. Let's actually put that in. And then finally, once we've put it in, relax. Hang out outside, enjoy what you've got. So the first step that you have to do to get this thing going is let's schedule a design call, right? I want to talk to you about all your problems. And maybe you're not quite ready yet for that, but I'll go ahead and email you a little idea guide just of some of the basic things that you can put in your backyard, understand basic pricing, and the basic process of how this whole thing works. So that way, at the end of the day, once we get this thing done, you'll feel way less stress. You can hang out and show off your backyard with friends and family, and you're no longer living the rat race of life. So now I have to create an entire campaign around that idea. So let's talk about, now that we have that done, let's talk about how do we actually make this thing happen. All right, so what's step 1 of the process? Paid advertising.
Yeah. Storybrand specific service.
Cool. Did we do that?
Yep.
Done. Part 2.
Perform problem and solution exercise.
Okay. So, do we do that?
Kinda.
Kind of.
You're
right?
stressed.
Yeah.
Get a pond.
Let's just go with what's the problem? Solution. What's the problem?
You're stressed.
Stress.
Not close enough to nature.
Not close with nature. Okay. Anything else?
Something they've always wanted.
4. Okay, cool. So solution. What's the solution to stress?
Connect with nature.
Okay. That's one thing. Give me a solution for not close with nature.
Bring nature to you.
Okay. You've always wanted it. So if you've always wanted a pond, that's a problem, is you've always wanted it. What's the solution?
Go get
Get it.
Get it. Come on. All right. So based off these solutions, what do we give them? And this is where that PDF comes in, where if they don't want to connect with nature today, or they don't want to bring it to you right now, or they don't want to go out and get it, that's where that stuff, the downloadable stuff can come in, that we can trade them for their information. So we go with staying with the ideas guide, so that way they can learn kind of what their options are.
So that would be the resource for their
That's the
solution.
resource.
Okay.
Yeah. One other thing, just kind of an off-the-wall statement, but if they're stressed and they want to relax, just kind of like based off of talking about the idea of running water and ocean and stuff like that, it could be, hey, you're looking to relax, we'll email you a hour-long video of a gorgeous pond and you just like listen to the noise. Just like something else just to think about it, but an idea guide always goes over well too. So one is a little bit more straightforward and like, hey, this is like, we're gonna give you exactly how to do this. And the other one's more of like, hey, relax and experience it. So we can almost test both sides and see if one works better, but something to think about. Okay, so that's our resource. So we got that. So what's the next step?
Landing page for the resource.
Okay. Landing page for the resource. So this could either be a landing page or it could just be a Facebook lead ad. This stuff generally works better as a Facebook lead ad, but you can test it. So, okay, so let's say right now we've got two things going on. This is our secondary goal, but our primary goal is what?
Schedule a design.
To actually schedule a design. So that's what the landing page would be around. Okay? So what we're doing is we're going for the home run. We're going for the on the landing page will be more geared towards that primary goal. So we want to make the landing page all around the designs, the emotion, that kind of stuff. Then, how do we get them, if they don't want to do that, how do we get them to at least download the idea guide?
Retarget them.
Retargeting. Yep. So what's after the landing page?
Develop media content for ads, so that would be out.
Okay. So Alex, what are some things that we could have for this? Media content for the ads.
You could show that of his different kind of jobs he's done previously.
Yeah.
So project profiles.
Previous jobs, video or pictures?
Both. Video could do it.
Okay. What else?
Maybe some testimonials, people and how it's changed them.
That's really good. And it wasn't, did you notice what he said about the testimonials? Testimonials on how it changed their life. Why is that important?
Because it shows that they can get there too if you're watching the video.
Yep, it's a bridge.
Them too, yeah.
It's a natural bridge. And it also, just like with that guy the other day that like, oh yeah, you know, Logan, like tell me what your services are. And then the more we talked, the more he was like, yeah, I don't really think people in my area are even online. I don't think the digital age is for me. Then what I have to do at that point is I have to sell not only the idea of doing stuff online, I then have to sell myself. That's 2 sales in one, which is a hell of a lot harder than 1 sale. So with this, what he's doing is these people are selling the product, selling this thing can fix you. If you just do a testimonial of, yep, I worked with Matt, it was great, I loved, the pond is beautiful and the whole process was simple, well, that's great, but that only matters if you actually want a pond, right? I can be like, hey, look, I just had the greatest experience at the car dealership up there, dude was super nice, loved him. And you're like, okay, that's cool. So when I want to have a car at some point in life, I know where to go, but right now I don't really need a car. But if I was like, look, I got this great car, it's worth it, it's helped out so much, it's, my relationship is way better now with Audrey because she loves it, like all this kind of shit, then you're like, okay, maybe I need a new car. So you have to sell the product first. And then once we get them into the boat, then we can do testimonials on retargeting testimonials around the process or the company, but you have to sell the product first or the service first to confirm that's really what they want to de-stress, because maybe they'd rather just drink and just be done with it, which we're not selling that. So that was good. Okay, so here's a couple things that we could do. Previous jobs, testimonials, things like that. What's the next step in that?
Create ad copy.
Okay. What kind of ad copy would you want to do for this, or what would make sense?
If it was a testimonial video, then you would showcase your story and be able to actually write it out to.
What about for previous jobs?
You would start with, connect with the emotions of it, about how it's like you're stepping into nature in your backyard.
Okay, cool. I'm good with that. Storytell it, right? What's next after we write the copy?
Connect the email marketing.
Okay. Email marketing for this. So what are some of the things, if they download this idea guide, what are some of the things that we can include with it? Like as follow-up emails, so we can have a basic email sequence.
With previous jobs and testimonials?
So if they download this idea guide, and so with this, so some of the media has to go along with this as well. So it's going to be kind of like, hey, so this is more of like the primary call to action that we're looking for. But if they don't want it, then they have the secondary. But if we're putting them on the idea guide email list, what are some things that you think email follow-ups would entail? Like if somebody just downloaded his guide that said, here's the top 10 projects I've done that are meant to de-stress your life, what would be a good follow-up email series that we could, like, some of the things that we could talk about, not in a particular order, but like, what would you think would go along the lines of this to convince somebody to finally get a design?
Show them what they're missing.
And what do you mean by that, show them what they're missing?
I guess just the possible benefits of having a pond in your yard.
There you go. Good one. Okay. What's another type of email we can do?
Highlight some of the best parts of your guide in case they haven't read all of it.
That's really good. Because most likely they haven't. Most likely they downloaded it, saw a page, and bailed out. What else can we do? What's another aspect of this? And just think about it from like the IDA model, where it's like awareness all the way down to action. So we're still kind of in that awareness stage of just trying to get them more on board with the idea of a pond now.
Can you upsell them in this stage or no?
Well, we're trying to sell them just in general. So we're just trying to sell them on the idea of getting a design.
In each email, you could highlight like the different pain points that we talked about. So just touch on them.
So what would be a pain point?
The stressed.
Okay, so stress. So what could you, in that, what would be a call to action in that stress email? Could be that long video of just like the sound of running water. Hey, you feeling stressed? Like, trust us, we get that so many Americans are stressed out. However, it's been perceived or it's been discovered that the sound of running water actually helps. That's why people listen to Rainy Moods and stuff like that. So if you're feeling especially stressed out today, click this video, watch 5 minutes of it. If you're not less stressed by the end of it, email us back and we'll go ahead and remove this from our sequence for everybody else. Okay, so the stress. What's another thing another problem?
The nostalgia, something that they've always
Nostalgia.
wanted.
Okay, so what's something that we could give them as far as nostalgia goes, like a call to action? You could almost do like, hey, check out like 3 family-friendly ponds or something like that. Something that's like, 3 backyards that are great for the whole family, because it's nostalgia, and with that, we're trying to get the kids involved too.
So would that be like a blog post or
It'd be a
something?
blog post,
And then you
most likely.
okay.
Yep. Which could be, either we create it or it could be one that's already done and it just talks all about a certain family that we've worked with before. Hey, we did this for the family because of this, this, and this. They've got young kids, so we had to make sure that the side of the pond, so now it shows that we're all about kids. Is there one more thing that we could think of? So we got stress, we got nostalgia.
Another thing you touch on is the authority.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna spend all this money on it, it needs.
Yep. So now we're kind of getting down the funnel a little bit. So now we're slowly working our way from let's sell you on the idea of the pond to now let's sell you that we know what we're doing, right? Hey, you want to check this out? Watch this video of us on the pond guy, which is like the dude's got like a couple 100,000 people on YouTube as his subscribers. Check us out. Things like that. So that could be something. So now we're kind of going down the funnel of trying to sell you some stuff now, right? So now we got authority. Now what's the next step that we could do?
Is there a way you can throw a case study in there somewhere?
Case study would be great. Which would probably be a blog. There are 3 things that people care about. 1, how does it work? 2, what's it cost? 3, how long does it take? Those are like the big 3 for like landing pages and stuff like that. So you could do one that's all about the process. 2, cost. 3, length of time. Okay, so now what we're doing is we've gone from selling them on, here are some of the benefits, and we're going to highlight the guide, all the way down to here's what this stuff can cost on a range. So now we're trying to do that. Okay, so now they have a good understanding of what they're missing and why, and how they can do it and now what it's going to cost, then what do we do?
Ask for the sale yet?
Yep. Asking for the sale, for the design. So for the design, hey, and here's the problem, is a lot of people sell the whole job. Hey, right now, if you get a design, you're going to get the job for 20% off. Great. They don't want that though. We need to sell the design first. So there needs to be a promotional offer on the design. So that's all we're trying to do with all this stuff. So instead of like, for this resource, we're not trying to, when we want you to download it, we're not saying, hey, download our guide so you can know what kind of pond to build. You're asking for the sale of the pond already. You got to set up almost a promotional offer on the design. Hey, you want to see what your life could look like? We'll design it for you for a discounted fee because he charges for this, or for free, or something like that. Or schedule a call just to talk to us about, what the design process might look like in your specific situation. But either way, some sort of promo on the design or the call to action. Because there's no commitment on them at that part. Plus, what we're doing is we're giving them a good amount of money off on a low price point option. So like, yeah, let's do it. But if you try to sell them on a big ass pond, hey, you get a bunch of money off of a $40,000 pond. They're still trying to figure out what's going on. They got to learn who you are more. So you want a promo on the design. Okay, so it could be pay for a 2D, get a 3D upgrade, something like that. But the goal here is to not give the stuff away, but it really is to just get your foot in the door with people. And then what he can decide is if he does this promo on 10 people's yards, right? 10 ponds that he does a design for. And if all 10 of those don't ever move forward, not a good promo, not a good waste of his time. But if half of them move forward and that's worth it, because you're making a bunch of money and it doesn't take that long, it's worth it. So you just got to test this stuff to see, first off, is this promo offer even good enough? And if it is, and people take the bait on it, or not take the bait, but like move forward on it, then how do we actually, is it worth it? Stuff like that. Then from there, promo and design. If they take charge of it and they do it, then they schedule the call, and that is when you're in the, you're good to go on the lead. Lead's done. Fair enough? If they don't, I would do one more email, but outside of that, just put them on a general nurture campaign because they've already been through 8 different emails. Now we got to put them on something more long-term, right? So that's kind of like the follow-up, like once you get them into the funnel and how you do that. One other thing that we're missing is going to be Google Ads. People that are searching for backyard ideas, people that are searching for pond installation, stuff like that, to get them also to that same landing page. And that landing page, again, is going more like backyard ideas would probably take them more to like an idea guide. But if it's like, hey, pond builder, hey, water feature, fountain builder, stuff like that, you would send them over to a landing page. It's all about like, hey, get a pond right now. Here's our process. Here's our cost. Here's our timeline, things like that to try to get the sale. And if they don't, that's when you hit them with the retargeting for the idea guide. YouTube's the same way. Hit them with retargeting, get them on YouTube for video stuff. And that's it. That's the full funnel, how you make it all happen. And you see most of it is once you do this stuff and you get them in that funnel, you get them to download this, the email does the rest of the work. And if the email doesn't do if it doesn't do the job, you put them on a long-term thing, but at least this way, this has to be set up properly so that way they get hit over and over and over, and we're going from selling them on the idea of a pond all the way down to get a design at a discounted rate, get our foot in the door.